My name is Ahmed. I am from South London, and I am from a Jamaican household. I grew up with my grandma, so if you can imagine, household, Caribbean household in the sort of 80s onwards. It was very Jamaican atmosphere, and we went to church. I went to church as a young guy, going to Sunday school every Sunday, and so that was my sort of introduction to God via Christianity. I started to get sort of signs for me that Islam was the truth. There's a number of events that happened. One of my friends, who is Afro-Caribbean, he was a Muslim, and he was the first person that I saw, like myself, being a Muslim. So what you'll find, naturally, you know, in school, people tend to gravitate towards the people of the same, you know, ethnic background, and there's a bit of mixture in the middle as well. So what you'll find in Ramadan, he would sort of break away, and he'll be with the sort of Asian and the Arabs, and we noticed that, you know, he was a bit serious, and he seemed more focused, and that was because it was Ramadan. So he used to fast, and he used to sort of, you know, do his Ramadan thing. So that made me realize that, you know, Islam wasn't just what I thought it was initially. It wasn't just an Asian thing or an Arab thing. It was a universal religion. So that was my first insight towards Islam, and it made me a bit intrigued as well. Why wasn't he a Christian, or why wasn't he perhaps a Rastafarian? You know, so it made me kind of want to look into the faith. And at the same time as well, I had questions about my own faith as well. Because growing up in my household, or basically going to church, I would hear comments like Jesus was the Son of God. And then sometimes I would hear that he is God. And it was hard to sort of find out what he really is. Is he Son of God, or is he God? And people say he is both. Oh, and then there was the whole Trinity thing as well. So it didn't make sense. And I didn't see how Jesus was God, you know. So although I believed, I still believed in Christianity, I still believed in like the prophets and the biblical stories, but something to me wasn't really adding up. So that was my friend that I mentioned, and then also my sister. She, at the age, she was about 16, she started showing an interest in Islam, and she told me that she went to the mosque, and her friend took her to the mosque, and they were doing ablution, and then she wore a scarf, and they started praying, and I was like, oh, okay, that's quite interesting. So again, you know, Islam came up during sort of late 90s. You had the film Malcolm X that came out, and again, he was a Muslim. You know, you heard that he was a Muslim, then the names Allah and Muhammad were mentioned as well. And that was the first time I actually saw it from, well, the second time I saw it from a black angle as well. So it kind of looked quite interesting. And then the third thing for me, or the fourth thing for me, which was an eye-opener, was when I watched the movie Roots. And I saw there was a scene with Kunta Kinte. He was on the ship, and he started calling out to Allah. And he was saying, "In the name of God, the most merciful, the most kind." And that made me think, "Oh my God, Islam is closer than I actually thought it was." Because me being of an African Caribbean background, we also went through that process of slavery and stuff as well. So it made me kind of wonder, perhaps my ancestors were Islamic as well. So that made me more intrigued as well. So I came to a stage where I was actually searching. I felt I was searching for an answer. It's funny because all these things started happening at the same time as well. So it made it, for me, it was like a no-brainer that this was a sign. So if I can give you paint a picture of how it was in the sort of mid 90s. There was a music scene which was called jungle, and it was just a genre of music which came from London, England, and there was a hit that was out at the time. It was called Original Nutter, and that was sung by this chap called UK Apache. It was a very, very, very big tune, very popular, and he so happened to live in Tooting as well. So we would see him, just on the street, and we say hello and whatnot. And there was one particular time I saw him, and we stopped and we greeted. He said hello, and I said hello back. And he asked me, what am I doing now? And I was like, well, to be honest, I'm not doing anything. I was just not going anywhere in particular. So he asked me if I want to come to the mosque. And I just thought, out of nowhere, and this is like this guy, UK Apache, with this hit song, he's asking me if I want to come to the mosque. And I already had sort of, an interest in Islam. And I just thought, I have to go because this is a sign. So I said, yeah, let's go to the mosque. So yeah, we went to the mosque, and then it was something like I've never experienced before. It was it's really hard to put in words, but all the time that I've been going to church, I've never felt the same feeling. It was quiet. There was no talking. There was people just praying and prostrating and stuff. And I was just looking around, and it just seemed really peaceful and very tranquil. And then I just thought, I need to know more about this religion, because this feels really familiar and really peaceful. So, after that encounter, I started meeting him up more. And yeah, I would just ask him questions about, Islam. But what struck me, which I didn't actually know from anyone, was the fact that Islam was really close to Christianity. And it kind of amazed me. I didn't realize how close it was. I think at one stage I was trying to work out what is the difference. That's how close it was. But, all the prophets that I knew before, that I was taught as a child in Sunday school, they're all mentioned in Islam. And the stories were very similar, if not exactly the same. So then I was just like, wow, so what is the position of Jesus in Islam? And then when I was told that he was a prophet of God, that made more sense to me. That was like the missing piece of the puzzle. So I was like, yeah, this is, that was time for me to embrace Islam and, take my Shahada. One of the things that concerned me about initially taking that plunge, that step, was the whole practice, the rituals that came with being a Muslim, the fact that you have to pray 5 times a day. It was very daunting, to be honest, and I did, because what would happen, because I asked so many questions about Islam. Now, I got to a stage where the friends around me, they knew that I had that belief in my heart. So they would always ask, are you ready to take your Shahada now? And I would always, I was a bit hesitant at first. And that was one of the reasons why. And that's what I said. I said, listen, I don't think I can, just pray 5 times a day and fast in Ramadan and this and that and the other. But the advice that I was given was just take your time, So when I heard those words, you don't need to rush into anything, just take your time. Everything is a gradual process. The people that knew me before and after, they definitely see a change in my character. For what they normally almost say is that I'm a completely different person. I'm not the same sort of young person that they recognize. Yeah, so they recognize the fact that Islam has done this to me, and they see it as a very good, positive thing. It's made me look at the world from a different perspective. I'm not judgmental. I feel that I have more of a compassion towards humanity, compassion that I didn't have before, and I see you know, I have this whole like universal brotherhood. Like, you know, I mean, if it wasn't for Islam, I wouldn't have such, you know, a diverse list of friends. You know, so you know, I find that Islam just opens you up into a whole a new world. You know, and when you learn about the characteristics of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, when you try to you know, try your best to adopt his mannerisms and his ways, you see how much of a better person you are as well, and you know that he, you know, you have this conviction that he has set such a good example for the rest of humanity. My relationship with my family and friends has changed a lot. They see that I try to be, you know, a person that's understanding, a person that cares. You know, obviously within Islam, it teaches us that we need to be dutiful to our parents as well, and respectful, and that's what they notice due to Islam. Take your time. Don't worry about trying to fit in. Just take it easy, you know, and you'll find everything will be okay.